my fellow Americans.
Let's talk about the situation at the border. We've seen a huge surge in migrants crossing the border since January. The number of children in custody higher than it was than its 2019 peak during the Trump administration. Your colleague Veronica Escobar of Texas called the conditions there unacceptable. She was there on Friday. Is she right? What more must be done?
Actually, the facts are these. There are more children, about 600-700 more children, unaccompanied children, coming over the border. This is a humanitarian challenge to all of us. What the administration has inherited is a broken system at the border, and they are working to correct that in the children's interest. I'm so pleased that the president, as a temporary measure, has sent FEMA to the border in order to help facilitate the children going from one 72-hour issue into where they are cared for as they are transferred into family homes or homes that are safe for them to be.
And I have to confess, I knew nothing about their suffering until 2021 when I volunteered to help the Biden administration with the crisis at the southern border. As part of Operation Artemis, I was deployed to the Pomona Fairplex Emergency Intake Site in California to help HHS, Office of Refugee Resettlement, reunite children with sponsors in the United States. I thought I was going to help place children in loving homes. Instead, I discovered that children are being trafficked through a sophisticated network that begins with recruiting in home country, smuggling to the U.S. border, and ends when ORR delivers a child to a sponsor. Some sponsors are criminals and traffickers and members of transnational criminal organizations. Some sponsors view children as commodities and assets to be used for earning income. This is why we are witnessing an explosion of labor trafficking. Now, whether it's intentional or not, it could be argued that the United States government has become the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation that is run by bad actors seeking to profit off of the lives of children.
Russia said once they take Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries. That puts America at war. This is about preventing war. It's always been about preventing war. My husband is a combat veteran. He's deployed now. The last thing I want him or any of his military brothers and sisters to do is to go to war.
But I think it is time to give the Ukrainians more help hitting these bases inside Russia.
One of the reasons that the administration has hesitated is because they believe it will escalate things even further with Russia pull the U.S. further in. Why not? Why? So why do you think that's a good idea?
Because it's Russia that has escalated this war. Russia has learned how to pull its forces back out of the range where we have allowed Ukraine to use our weapons and get our support.
American media outlets have spoken to scores of people from Ukraine, and they've done scores of interviews with Ukrainian President Zelensky. We ourselves have put in a request for an interview with Zelensky, and we hope he accepts. But the interviews he's already done in the United States are not traditional interviews. They are fawning pep sessions specifically designed to amplify Zelensky's demand that the U.S. enter more deeply into a war in Eastern Europe and pay for it. That is not journalism. It is government propaganda. Propaganda of the ugliest kind, the kind that kills people. At the same time, our politicians and media outlets have been doing this, promoting a foreign leader like he's a new consumer brand. Not a single Western journalist has bothered to interview the president of the other country involved in this conflict, Vladimir Putin. Most Americans have no idea why Putin invaded Ukraine or what his goals are now. They've never heard his voice. That's wrong. Americans have a right to know all they can about a war they're implicated in, and we have the right to tell them about it because we are Americans too.
The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III.
A U.S. official has confirmed to CBS News President Biden has given authorization for Kyiv to use U.S.-supplied long-range weapons to strike deep into Russian territory.
I'm sitting here with my father. I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Sounds like a shakedown, doesn't it, Director?
I'm not going to get into commenting on that.
You seem deeply uncurious about it, don't you? Almost suspiciously uncurious. Are you protecting the Bidens?
Absolutely not. The FBI does not and has no interest in
You won't answer the question about whether or not that's a shakedown, and everybody knows why you won't answer it. Because to the millions of people who will see this, they know it is. And your inability to acknowledge that is deeply revealing about you.
British police came into the embassy and arrested.
After a long flight from the UK, Julian Assange's day began on the island of Saipan, a tiny territory chosen because it's the closest US court to Australia. This normally quiet courthouse, swarming with reporters, as the WikiLeaks founder arrived flanked by former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd.
Individual used an AR-15 in order to act out his assassination attempt. An AR-15 has a range of about 400 to 600 yards. My question, why is the Secret Service protective perimeter shorter than one of the most popular semi-automatic weapons in the United States?
There are a number of weapons out there with a number of ranges. Again, an advance was completed. The determination of the perimeter, I'm not going to speak to specifics, but there are a number of factors that are taken into account when we determine our perimeter. Some of it has to do with terrain, some of it has to do with buildings, some of it has to do with assets and resources that are available.
What I'm hearing is that a perimeter was not established outdoors in an outdoor venue that would prevent an AR-15, which is one of the most common weapons used in mass shootings, from being able to be within the range of Secret Service protection.
Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th, yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest.
So what is the threat to democracy? People on both sides, people in power, saying out loud that they want to control what you get to hear and see. It is real, it is a threat, and it is happening and growing. And I'll tell you what, punishing thought is on the agenda. And I just heard it from someone who's not a kook, not Alex Jones, not Tucker Carlson, one of the most sober and intelligent politicians of our time, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
I think it's important to indict the Russians, just as Mueller indicted a lot of Russians who were engaged in direct election interference and boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg admitted that the Biden administration repeatedly pressured Meta to censor content, including information about Hunter Biden, and Zuck admitted that he also regrets complying with these demands. In a letter to the House Judiciary Committee Chairman, Representative Jim Jordan, Zuck writes, quote, "The FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. That fall, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on Joe Biden's family, we sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it."
You know, you do some tweets that seem to be, or at least give support to some who would call others conspiracy theories.
Well, yes, but I mean, honestly, you know, some of these conspiracy theories have turned out to be true.
Which ones?
Well, like the Hunter Biden laptop.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am in awe of Ms. Jankowicz. When the department picked her, did it know that she had said that Mr. Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation? Did it know that she had vouched for the veracity of the Steele dossier?
Senator, let me repeat myself and add an additional fact. One, we do not discuss internal hiring processes.
I think you've got no idea what disinformation is, and I don't think the government's capable of it. Do you know who the greatest propagator of disinformation in the history of the world is? The U.S. government. Think of all the debates and disputes we've had over the last 50 years in our country. We work them out by debating them. We don't work them out by the government being the arbiter. I don't want you to guardrails. I want you to have nothing to do with speech.
To be a conspiracy theorist is to have been right all along, despite the efforts of the paid-for liars. And it's also to be demonstrably well ahead of the gullible, still believing in smoke and mirrors. Conspiracy theorist was first used by the CIA to shut down those who doubted the official line about the murder of John F. Kennedy, that fishy old tale about a lone shooter and a magic bullet, and then that lone shooter being shot by another lone shooter before he could talk. That was in the 1960s, and from then, the label conspiracy theorist worked for decades as the means to make thinking people too scared to speak when they smelt a rat. Let 2024 be the year of clearing out the rubbish, the trash, the long overdue year when the past or sell-by-date labels, conspiracy theorist among them, are cast into the dustbin of history.
Wake up, everybody. Welcome into Redacted. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And on this show, we're not controlled by, big pharma, big tech, Israel, any Israeli lobbies, anybody. We are controlled by you. So we support you. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on the show. We cover the stories the mainstream media largely ignores. We're going to dive deep today into what these peace talks look like now moving forward. President Putin making some big overtures and President Trump jumping right on those. What concessions will be made in Ukraine. And Europe seems to be crying about it because their war seems to be about to end.
We didn't say our names. I'm Natalie Morris. This is Clayton Morris.
I think we did right off the top.
I haven't said a word. Have I said a syllable? I don't think I've said anything.
Let's roll the tape back.
Philip, did I say one thing since we've been... So
you
we're not
your
controlled.
Name.
I don't think we said that.
Your name.
Okay.
Yes,
we're not controlled by any lobbyist groups, but we are a married couple and we boss each other around a lot. You may have picked up on that already. Philip, did I say my name?
Yes, you did. We said it right off the top. Re-rack the tape right now. Can we go to the videotape?
I'll have to let you know later. I was busy doing something else.
Okay.
yes, people confirming you did say your name in case they were wondering who you were. Yes, we're also going to be talking about that alleged Israeli pedophile who was arrested in Las Vegas. What the hell is going on here with the legal system? Why the hell was this guy's passport not seized and removed from his hands, but instead he was allowed to fly back to Israel? And he works right under Benjamin Netanyahu, and now Netanyahu is lying about the whole thing. We have a lot to unpack on that story.
We're also going to talk about male cheerleaders in the NFL and a rebrand for MSNBC. Wait for it. This name, I'm sure they paid billions for it. That person should just leave the country because that is their legacy. It's great. It's an MSNBC fail, so we'll stick around for that. Before we get into all of this, though, we want to tell you about our friends over at IQBAR because this episode is brought to you by IQBAR, our exclusive snack sponsor. IQBAR is better for you. It's plant-based protein snacks made with brain-boosting nutrients to refuel, nourish, and satisfy hunger without a sugar crash. Now, we take these a lot. The IQBAR, the powder, the hydration powder, and as well as the snacks, they travel really well. They stick around in a backpack. They don't sort of melt into mush. So, yeah, we use them a lot. They have great flavors, including mint chocolate chip, chocolate sea salt, banana nut, toasted coconut chip, lemon blueberry, and peanut butter chip. And they have over 20,000 five-star reviews and counting. So check them out for yourself. Right now, IQBAR is offering our special listeners 20% off all IQBAR products plus free shipping. So to get your 20% off, text Redacted to 64,000. Text, again, Redacted to 64,000. Message and data rates apply. See terms for details. So again, that's IQ. I see you. Okay.
Yes, everyone in the chat is
wrong.
Hold on. Everyone in the chat is saying you need to eat some of these IQ bars. Maybe you'll remember your name next time. Maybe that'll help.
I will apologize without an asterisk.
Wow.
I am apologizing full stop.
Mark this on your calendars,
I'm sorry
America.
that you chose to make me mad and point out that no, I'm kidding.
You're gaslighting.
Just kidding.
Gaslighting.
I apologize.
Wow.
I apologize for real.
It was almost
it's on tape.
It was an unequivocal. I'm glad we have the tape. Thank God. I'm gonna wear a body cam footage from now on just to so I can keep it on track. All right. Well, let's talk about this. President Trump just held a high-stakes meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky and a handful of European leaders in Washington, D.C. It looked like a teacher scolding a group of kids sitting around his desk. Like, hey, guys, this is how the world works. Would you like to learn how the world works? It's not run by you, all you toadies over in Europe. Look on the left there. Yeah, I was going to say, look on the left. Yeah, look on the left of your screen there. Of course, that is Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Arms crossed that she has to sit in the same room as these fools. Anyway, of course, when I hear the phrase security guarantees, this was a big thing that President Trump was talking about, security guarantees, or has come up now in the last 24 hours, security guarantees for Ukraine. Of course, when I hear that phrase, immediately I think, oh, American forces, American money, American weapons, U.S. resources, all of it, potential U.S. troops on the ground, more NATO bases, maybe even NATO membership. That's not what Americans signed up for, of course, when they voted for Trump. In fact, look at the latest poll numbers on that very question. Only 30% of Republicans support aid to Ukraine. Democrats, though, in blue love sending money to foreign countries. 77% of Democrats want to put more guns and assistance in Ukraine. Of course, Ukraine has been a wonderful money laundering operation for Democrats. So, of course, more money flowing to Ukraine would flow back to them in their campaigns. No doubt.
Well, I think that's an oversimplification, though, because Democrats love the media. They love to believe everything the media says. Therefore, they believe that Russia is the aggressor. They believe the war started in 2022. They probably don't understand what the heck is going on, and the media will not walk back the history of this conflict. So they are a victim of their own lack of critical thinking. I don't think it's just as simple as they love the war. They just don't love to study.
Okay, well, I guess I should, differentiate when I say Democrats. I mean, Democrats, yes, at large, who are registered Democrats, but I really mean the voting bloc in Washington, congressional Democrats,
sure,
who have made a lot of money off of the war in Ukraine.
Sure.
So differentiation there. But anyway, Zelensky came out of that meeting, basically said the quiet part out loud. America's participation is critical to any so-called peace deal. He even stood across from the White House and told reporters that the United States needs to send a clear signal that it'll be part of Ukraine's future security. Translation, Uncle Sam is on the hook for this, really. Trump, for his part, kind of kept things vague afterwards, talking about very good protection and very good security. Of course, the neocons like disgraced Ambassador John Bolton would love nothing more than U.S. troops in Ukraine. CNN dragged this fossil out to put on TV. Watch.
Ambassador, when you look at what's been reported about what is on the table regarding a potential peace deal, you're talking about some sort of security guarantees in the form of a reassurance force that President Trump, as you pointed out earlier, Jeff, would not rule out U.S. forces being a part of, even though he's been skeptical of it, expressed skepticism of it before. And then also this idea that there would be some kind of Article 5-like agreement between allies of Ukraine to intervene if Russia were to advance its incursions down the road. Is that actually enough to keep Vladimir Putin away from his ambition of remaking the Russian imperial order?
I think we're a long way from any of that. I can't wait till the MAGA base hears that Donald Trump has committed American combat forces, U.S. forces against Russian forces on the line in Ukraine if the Russians violate the ceasefire. One nuclear power directly against another nuclear power. I don't think that's what they signed up for with Donald Trump, and I don't think he's necessarily thought through that implication either. He wants a Nobel Peace Prize, and he wants it now.
Scruffy, by the way, get in your super chats now. I was just trying to click on this one. I can't click on it. I tried. Anyway, Scruffy something said Bolton's mustache tingles for war. It always tingles for war, and so it does. So he even called Putin during the talks, and during a hot mic moment caught him saying that Putin wants a deal. But here's the other problem. Any deal that ropes America into long-term defense commitments in Eastern Europe is not America first. It's Europe first. And that's exactly what Trump's base does not want. So what's next and how will all of this play out? Let's ask Colonel Robert Maness, the host of the Rob Maness Show, who joins us now to talk all about this. And we got a lot of questions for you. Colonel, great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, it's good to see y'all. Thanks for having me back on.
Our pleasure. So just let me just get your assessment. There was a map that was being shown in this room. And from a military strategy, tactical perspective, I want to get your take on this. This was over Trump's shoulder in the room here. And this, of course, is what's being discussed. Like Crimea seems to be off the table. These areas in red. Like, what are we looking at here? And what does this mean for Russia? What does this mean for a peace agreement?
Well, that looks like the former Ukrainian territories that are now either occupied or controlled by Russia in some way or another. From what I can see, it's similar to the map I showed on my show on Monday. But what it doesn't show is the little area up there to the northeast and to the west of Donetsk. The Donetsk, what's called an oblast. It's kind of like a state. In that part of in that country, that there is a small area there that the Russians are asking for that territory that they don't occupy right now, but it's where the Russian armed forces have been making a lot of gains here, especially the last week or so, in getting on that territory and having boots on the ground. And in return for that, the Russians are offering further down to the southwest there, along the Kherson border and the other oblast. I can't remember the exact name of it. Something like starts with a Z. There's some territory there that Russia actually occupies that they're willing to back away from and have the Ukrainians take that. And it's about twice as much territory size-wise as this small piece of territory on the west side of Donetsk. And what they're trying to do, it appears, is fill out the borders, the regular borders of each one of those oblasts the way that they should be from a formal border on the map perspective. That's what I'm seeing.
When we hear European leaders say, oh, we want this land back, we're really going to try and get it back, that seems like the dumbest thing ever. And when you look at that map, can you give us a sense of what would that take militarily? It feels like we would need all of China in order to win that. And it's just like I said, it seems so dumb. But what are they talking about?
You have to have the armed forces of the United States on the ground and in the air, at sea, and in every other domain, space, cyber, fully engaged in combat operations there. I mean, the Europeans, last time they needed to talk about a peacekeeping force potentially to go into Ukraine, had trouble putting together 20,000 troops that they could guarantee would be available 24/7, 365 to be part of that peacekeeping force. So the NATO forces and European Union countries are just not capable of doing that on their own. So that's what they're asking for, guys, is they want my kids. They want me to put a uniform back on even. I'm sure they would agree to it. I'm breathing and I'm able to walk and hold a rifle if necessary and go shoot at Russians on behalf of a border that is not a vital national interest where it's located at to the United States of America. That's the problem here. And I'm not being Rob Manus there. I'm paraphrasing Barack Obama, what he said about it. The problem is what he said. The problem is that where the Ukrainian border is not a vital national interest to us, and it is one to Russia. That's the problem. And the European countries saw that, and that's why they came and sat in front of that desk in the Oval Office yesterday like a bunch of subordinate commanders to the real commander-in-chief, because they recognize the reality of the situation. That war is lost. They're not going to gain that territory back without a huge fight and tens of thousands of dead European and American kids that the MAGA supporters are not going to support.
So it seemed that Putin walked away from that meeting in Alaska pretty positive, and that seems to be on the Russian side. So did Trump. It seems like peace is kind of like in the air, on the table, floating around. The agreement would, I guess I'm just sort of stunned by Zelensky's comments about security after all of this. So is he under the impression that Trump is going to put some sort of American security or NATO security where they could invoke Article 5 if for some reason, I guess almost like a proxy NATO country? They wouldn't be NATO. They wouldn't be admitted as NATO, but we would enact Article 5 and would sort of wrap them up in like a warm blanket and protect them anyway. And would Putin even go for that?
Well, Putin apparently has agreed to what Steve Witkoff's phrase was Article 5-like protections. No NATO membership for the Ukraine. And the president has said that. He's tweeted out, no NATO membership, no American boots on the ground either. Now, there's a lot of room there to talk about other things when you really think about those two phrases. And I think that's why everybody came away from the Alaska meeting so positive, is that Putin said, hey, I'd be willing to accept some Article 5-like guarantees so the Ukrainians would be comfortable with doing this. The other reason they came away in a positive mode, I think, is because of this willingness of the Russians to give twice as much territory back to Ukraine and only ask for this one small area, which is strategically and tactically important to the Ukrainian armed forces defenses, which is why they're trying to push back on that a little bit. But I don't think that they're going to be able to come up with a good argument. However, let's talk long-term American commitments. We still have a NATO treaty with the NATO countries. So America is still going to be involved in that, even though we're demanding that the Europeans step up, and many of them have finally acquiesced to President Trump's demand and agreed that they're going to spend more on their defense, acknowledging that if they think Russia's a real threat to Europe, they have to pay the bill, so to speak. But where the United States, I see, and I'm just speculating here, our support for this effort comes into play is to continue to do what we've done from an intelligence perspective, a logistical support perspective, and from selling arms and those kinds of things. But the day of the giveaway has got to end. The day of the giveaway has got to end. Ukraine has got to become a country that establishes its own economy, can pay its own government officials and government official retirees instead of the United States doing it. You guys know that we have done that with some of this aid that we've given them. We've given them we basically put them all on Social Security and added that to my bill and your bill. I mean, think about the tax check you're going to write. I'll pay taxes again before the end of the year because I pay estimated taxes, as a lot of us do nowadays. And every time I write a check, I'm thinking about that issue. And President Trump knows and is also thinking about that issue. And the other thing people aren't really talking about is the potential positive of becoming better related with the Russian government from an economic perspective, and maybe pulling them away from China's desire to be a hegemon in the world, and maybe even subsume the United States' role as the global world power and overtake us in that regard, and maybe create a little bit of separation there from the bad decisions the Biden administration made, which drove Russia right into the arms of the Chinese Communist Party.
Sure. And if you are, keeping track, it's the Democrats who continue to escalate against Russia by fomenting the coup, by continuing to escalate the war, and Republicans have not. So how can Russians trust that whatever President Trump says will be implemented by whoever is elected in 2028?
Well, it's very important that some sort of congressionally approved, U.S. Senate approved treaty occurs out of this peace agreement if the United States is going to be involved only at a certain level, because you're right. Just like with any other agreement, it's trust but verify. I mean, we have to be that way with the Russians, and the Russians are certainly going to be that way with us. One of the things that made Ronald Reagan successful with dealing with Mr. Gorbachev and the Soviet Union, when he was successful at getting them to agree to things, on things like nuclear strategic arms limitations, and those kinds of things, was he didn't ask them to do things that were going to go against their best interest. And I think Mr. Trump, from what I can see and observe, is following the same type of strategy. He's not asking them to do things that go against their interest. He's asking them to consider doing things that are going to help them, especially in the long run, by stopping the killing, obviously, then be able to take what's already a stronger economy than it ought to be, considering the Western sanctions that are on them, and reviving that and creating more of a, not a Western-style economy, but more of a prosperous economy for most of the people, and build a real middle class in Russia, those kind of things. And the only way you can do that is to have good trade with other nations. And we have a president of the United States today that sees that, understands it, and is working towards that. And I think is going to work towards helping Russia become a freer, more prosperous country if we can get them to agree to stop the killing on both sides of this fight.
Yeah, and that was kind of an amazing moment, too. We'll just sort of get you out of here on that, Colonel, which was, there was an aside. I think it might have been from German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, but we're not exactly sure which mail said it. President Trump then echoed it on Fox and Friends this morning, and he said, someone from the European side said, all right, well, let us talk about it for 2 months, and we'll kind of come back to the table. And he said, no, 2 months. He said, in 2 months, 40,000 more people are going to die. Like, we need to get a peace agreement together now. Putin's ready to meet with Zelensky by maybe as early as next week. In Geneva, that might happen.
Well, they don't work in August in Europe.
Right. So Europeans, do not, they're all off on, try to go to the country of Portugal in August. It's shut down. So they're like, August, you want to do some work in August? We don't care that 40,000 people will die. We got to go to the beach.
Our globalist politicians don't work in August either. So
true.
That's true.
That's true.
But yeah,
Well, I guess
and
the good news in all this,
president's
Colonel, I mean,
exactly
you
right.
have President
news
Trump
is-
saying, that NATO will not be involved in this. They can't be. Told Fox and Friends this morning. As far as like security guarantees, that's an impossibility. Crimea will be an impossibility. So maybe we'll lend some air support, maybe to the European friends. But it seems like we're getting close to the finish line.
We are, and I have high hopes about it, that especially from the perspective of the main concern that I continue to have, and I think a lot of people in the MAGA community that support the president have, and that is no more long-term commitment added on to Americans, because we've paid enough, we've sacrificed enough, and if the Europeans, guys, if the Europeans are really that concerned about Russia rolling over the western part of the continent of Europe like Hitler did, then why are they spending over $1 billion more a year on Russian oil and gas than they are on what they've given to the Ukrainian armed forces? Why is that still happening? And that's still happening.
Yeah, don't listen to what they say. Just follow their actions. That's always a key.
Watch what they do.
Colonel Maness, great to see you. Host of the Rob Maness Show. Check it out. As always, great to have you here, Colonel. Thank you so much. We could be close to peace.
Could be. Keep your fingers crossed and say a prayer, even if you don't pray. Say it anyway. A lot of lives at stake.
Yeah, do all of it. Thank you, Colonel. Great to see you.
Thank y'all. Good to see you.
All right.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk about why the American government let an Israeli pedophile leave the country. That's unusual, isn't it? We're going to give you a little context on how it's actually not that unusual. We are mad as snakes. I want to know why Israelis are not. You like pedophiles just walking around the streets? You're cool with that? That's chill by you. We're going to talk about that in a second. We're also going to talk about male cheerleaders in the NFL. Is it a big deal? And then we're going to talk about massive UFO news. So stay tuned for that. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at American Financing, because if you've been living on credit cards just to cover your expenses, you know those interest rates are brutal. But why pay 20% more to the banks when you can call American Financing? They have mortgage rates in the 5s now. That is a really good deal. They're showing people every day how to get more of your hard-earned money in your pocket and out of the hands of the credit card companies. This is what wealthy people do all the time, is they leverage their assets. They can teach you that. They're saving average homeowners $800 a month by using their home equity to wipe out high interest debt, and then you can build wealth instead of dig into debt. They have salary-based mortgage consultants, and here's the kicker. If you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments, putting even more cash in your hands. So don't wait. And of course, cash is a premium. We're about to enter the holidays, back to school. So expensive. We all know this. Call them right now at 866-890-8434 or head on over to AmericanFinancing.net. Again, that's AmericanFinancing.net/redacted. Make sure you put that redacted on there so they know who sent you, or call 866-890-8434 today.
Someone says, Natalie, did you mean to say that praying is the same as knocking on wood?
I didn't say that.
No, she didn't say that.
We said, let's do all the things.
Do all the things. Pray, meditate.
Cross your fingers, cross your toes.
Yeah, he said cross your fingers, do everything. But yeah, praying. If everyone got together and actually prayed and lowered the chaos in the world, that might be a huge help to stopping these wars. Maybe we should start there. Maybe we should pray to stop all the pedophiles and sex traffickers. What do you think about that? We are learning a lot more about the alleged Israeli pedophile who tried to have sex with a young girl in Las Vegas. He was arrested. There he is. Released back to Israel. But first, some context.
Can I just give you this is nuance, but a pedophile is someone who preys on someone who's prepubescent. A 15-year-old girl has been through. So it's still a child predator, but not that word. Just the nuance matters.
Okay, so he's not a pedophile then, you're saying?
I wouldn't say, but a child predator, yes.
Okay.
A predator, absolutely. Not a pedophile. The nuance matters for a reason, and I'll leave it there. But anyhow.
All right. So why does Israel have an open borders policy for sex offenders and pedophiles and child predators? Why does Israel embrace pedophiles? The Jerusalem Post even called it out, saying, quote, Israel needs to stop being a haven for sex criminals.
Yes.
Israel needs to stop being a haven there. Okay, they are a massive haven. It's a serious question that needs some serious answers. Remember when CBS News exposed how easy it is for pedophiles to find sanctuary in Israel? having their slate basically wiped clean. You can read the full story, which is titled How Jewish American Pedophiles Hide from Justice in Israel. Here it is. That's what they use what's called the law of return. Here's better explanation from CBS.
Now, one of those suspects, his name is Gershon Kranzer, was returned to New York City just yesterday to face the charges after more than a decade in Israel. He is accused of molesting 2 female relatives. One of them was just 6 years old at the time. Ian Lee has investigated these cases for years, and his reporting has had a major impact. He joins us now from London with more on this story. Ian, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gail. People like Kranzner exploit a process called the law of return, whereby any Jewish person can move to Israel and automatically gain citizenship. Our investigation last year revealed how this loophole has allowed dozens of accused and convicted American pedophiles to flee there.
Now, reports suggest that Israel per capita has one of the highest number of sex offenders of any country in the world. Yes, the government refuses to keep or even publish data. It's very difficult to get the data on their own sex offenders. Why is that? Why is it that data is kind of kept hidden? That's pretty interesting. Might be embarrassing, I guess, if that data were to get out. Sex offenders, though, can move to Israel and have their slate basically wiped clean. According to the Times of Israel, 9 out of 10 rape cases in Israel are closed without charges. Yeah, they're often ignored or closed without any charges at all. The report also found that 90% of rape allegations ended without an indictment. 90%. And in 2023, another report showed that 81% of all sex criminals are just set free. Furthermore,
where's the Israeli outrage on this? You want to live in a society like this? We freak out when an immigrant comes into our country that is a sex predator. We freak out about it. Where's that freak out, Clayton?
I don't know, but we were furious about all of the sex trafficking that was pouring across our southern borders. Still furious about it, into the United States. I mean, we covered it extensively here on the show. So, and again, Democrats didn't really care about it at all. They were the ones that facilitated the sex trafficking into the United States. So I don't know. They're all one big cahoots. Who knows? Furthermore, any one of those that I just showed you in that 81% of sex crime complaints, of that 81% that I just showed you on the screen of sex crime complaints in Israel closed without an indictment, any one of those few that are actually arrested get out early. So even if they are arrested, they get out early. Here on your screen, take a look at this. 75% were released early, not serving their full sentences. Additionally, nearly 90% of sexual offense cases involving Israeli army officers were initially opened, but subsequently closed without any charges. A report also found that 75% were released early. 90% of all sexual criminal cases involving IDF soldiers were closed without any charges. So 90% of these IDF soldiers, they can just rape anyone they want, I guess, and nothing will happen to them. 90% of them just get away with it?
Well, no, we covered here when there was proposals to hold them to account, they rioted. There were riots in the streets protecting the IDF's ability to do this with impunity.
Yeah,
we covered this. And that only came across, we had Dan Cohen on the show, that only came across because Germany said, hey, it's kind of embarrassing for us to continue to support Israel when we have these human rights complaints against the IDF, so clean that up. So the government of Israel said, okay, we'll do that, and there were massive protests. This was less than 18 months ago. It was here on the show. You can look it up.
Now, just a quick question. Is that concluding people they're doing this to other Israelis, or is this including what they're doing in Gaza? Is that even being recorded at all?
Well, a lot of it happens in the prisons where they take Palestinian prisoners without due diligence. They take them on what's called administrative detention, and they hold them and they continue to extend these detentions. And a lot of times these prisoners, if they ever get out, report sexual abuse at the hands of the IDFs who held them. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with the war in Gaza. This has been happening for decades.
So it's against that whole backdrop here that the context we should lay out, that a 38-year-old man named Tom Artyom Alexandrovich was arrested in Las Vegas last week during a multi-agency operation targeting child sex predators. Before he could be prosecuted, he fled to Israel, where it turns out he is a senior official in Israel's National Cyber Directorate. So, yes, underneath Benjamin Netanyahu. Here's the State Department's statement on this. The furor was pretty strong online. The only reason I guess they decided to respond to it, so the U.S. State Department says, the Department of State is aware that Tom Alexandrovich, an Israeli citizen, was arrested in Las Vegas and given a court date for charges related to soliciting sex electronically from a minor. He did not claim diplomatic immunity and was released by a state judge pending a court date. Any claims that the U.S. government intervened are false. Okay, but that statement sidesteps the obvious question. How was he allowed to leave the country at all in the first place? What? Standard protocol in these cases would be to seize his passport. And we've confirmed that with many lawyers who've worked on similar cases like this. This is like standing operating procedure. You seize the guy's passport. He doesn't get on a plane and go back to Israel, for crying out loud.
Well, that was fun. You caught me doing some sex trafficking.
But I gotta go.
So I'm going home. Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Vegas.
Yeah.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene posted this asking the very same question. Why did our government release a child predator from Israel who works directly under Prime Minister of Israel? And now Netanyahu is lying and completely denying it. Why isn't Mark Levin pitching a hissy fit over this? And why isn't Laura Loomer rage posting about this and claiming she broke the story? Actually, she did end up posting about it just a short time ago. Probably, I mean, I don't want to say reluctantly, maybe. She was fully invested in talking about this story. But she posted underneath the U.S. State Department and said, yes, this guy should be extradited back to the United States to stand for his crimes, alleged crimes.
Now, he does have a late August court hearing as a follow-up, and supporters online are saying he's going to show up for that. We don't know how they know that. That might just be their pipe dream. Would you show up for that? Go back voluntarily if you knew that you could have impunity in Israel? So that's interesting. Maybe he does, and will eat these words. Seems highly unlikely that he will.
Sagar Enjeti also has some more details about this, and he posted this, and this is a really interesting take on this. How was Alexandrovich allowed to escape to Israel after being caught in the child sex sting? Some answers. A source familiar with Nevada proceedings explains that Alexandrovich posted bail and fled to Israel before appearing before a judge. A criminal complaint needs to be filed before restrictions can be imposed on travel. This is where things get sketchy. Alexandrovich remains the only person caught in the sting who's not had a criminal complaint filed against him, which then means no judge could impose restrictions. Alexandrovich is due back in court on the 27th of August for a, quote, status check on filing of a complaint, but the complaint remains unfiled. So there's no indication yet that he will even attend his court proceeding in person. It also remains an open question as to whether the federal agents at the Homeland Security Investigation, or FBI, alerted U.S. Attorney Shatta, who has been openly a major Israeli supporter in the past of his employment to the Israeli government.
Now, Breaking Points did publish the arrest document. You can find it online. I will link to it tomorrow in the newsletter. And it, in fact, shows in the notes that this man told officers that he had a meeting tomorrow with the NSA and that he was in town for a conference and that he was at the conference to learn. And that he regularly comes to the United States for cryptocurrency conferences, and that he had used this international phone number to chat. He used a chat application called Pure, which I had never heard about. It's a anonymous dating app. So, okay. So yes, given that we see that there, that he had meetings with the NSA, do you think, what are we thinking here, that he was caught up in this local police operation and that otherwise our own federal government would not have done this? It was like, oops, we caught up someone who is of national interest that our government loves. Shouldn't have done this. What do you think? That it was the Las Vegas Police Department didn't know what they were doing?
I mean, well, or that the U.S. interim attorney who was responsible for this and has been an openly a major Israeli supporter. I mean, she's like, here's her picture, Chata, if you want to take a look at this picture, if we have it here, Philip. And this is what Sagar was talking about. This is whether or not they alerted the U.S. attorney who's been openly a major Israeli supporter in the past. I mean, if you read her tweets, she's like, everyone in Gaza is a criminal or a terrorist. She's like, 90% of them are Hamas. And like the other 10% are like Hamas light or something like that. So all the little children, everything. She absolutely hates Palestinians. Just read her tweets.
But she did post online that it was a liberal district attorney who failed to require this man's passport and let him go, and that Attorney General Bondi and FBI Director Cash are upset about this and are talking to her. So I don't know if this is her saving face. I also did not know before that a judge could hold a dual citizenship. This is the first I've ever heard of someone in that position. Like
she's a dual U.S. She's Israeli, and this is exactly why Thomas Massie once again today doubled down on his for being elected office to have dual citizenship.
Right.
Like
no elected officials should hold dual passports.
So you're elected, you have loyalties to Israel, and you're letting this pedophile go back. I mean, again, so he can just get his slate wiped clean back there because he won't be indicted there. He'll be protected. He'll be embraced by the Netanyahu
imagine
government.
this with any other country. It's a Mexican judge, right, who let a Mexican guy go back. Like that, you can't have this. You can't, or those people should recuse themselves, full stop. But obviously the system did not. So, I mean, what we have here, obviously, it was a sting. So there was no actual 15-year-old victim, but it very well could have been. And so now we have our own country choosing not to protect children or even the idea of a children, but instead protecting the relationship with Israel. Is there any other non-conspiracy way to see this?
I don't know.
Given that everyone else in the sting got a charge.
Also, how is Google allowing this? Like, I think this is like a Google app, like a Google Play Store app. I don't think that Apple allows the app. Maybe, David, you might know better than I do on this, but...
Why do you ask him? Single?
No, literally before the show, we were talking about Google versus Apple and something. Anyway, but the Google Play Store, I don't think has like any... I don't know if they have any restrictions or not, but apparently it was like a Google... Yeah. Okay, it was a Google Play Store app that's being used for this purposes, and I don't know if it's on the Apple App Store or not, but like maybe Google should also weigh in on this too, because apparently it's like a common knowledge pedophile app.
That's where you go to Pure? Okay.
Or maybe it's just used in Vegas. It's like a common Vegas app, or who the hell knows? Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he also mentioned WhatsApp, which... what are you going to do about that?
There's Facebook. Zuckerberg. Do you think Zuckerberg, Instagram... where pedophiles love Instagram, by the way. Instagram is one of like the hotbed of like pedophilia and child trafficking operations. Like a lot of it happens on Instagram. So do you think Zuckerberg, who has done nothing to stop that, is going to like jump in on WhatsApp to do anything? Of course not.
I just searched the Apple App Store and it is available. Pure Anonymous is available on Apple.
So
Pure
Apple
Anonymous,
too.
chat, date, have fun, it says.
All right.
Much fun.
So much fun. Get your pedophilia kicks, God. All right. Anyway, well, we're going to be following the story, and what is the U.S. State Department going to do? There was a lot of ignorance about this story. A lot of people are like, "There's no extradition treaty with Israel." And it's like, we've had extraditions with. We've actually brought pedophiles back from Israel to stand trial, as the CBS News report just highlighted there. So anyway, a lot of ignorance about this story. We'll continue to follow it.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk about whether or not we should freak out about male cheerleaders in the NFL. We're also going to talk about massive UFO disclosure and MSNBC's new very embarrassing name. We are enjoying the Schadenfreude. But before that, Clayton will tell you about our friends over at Lear Capital.
Yes, indeed, because God knows just in a few weeks now, we're going to see what the Fed does with interest rates. When the Fed, all signals, it's all baked in. All Wall Street insiders are playing the markets right now, thinking that rate cut by the Fed is baked in. That's what's heading into the fall. What does it mean if the Federal Reserve actually cuts rates? It means they devalue the U.S. dollar. That's what happens when you slash interest rates. That's what's going to happen. And by the way, don't expect mortgage rates to go or follow suit, because the last time they slashed rates, mortgage rates actually went up. So people are like, "Oh, I'm waiting to buy a house and Fed's going to slash interest rates." Sorry, don't mean to burst your bubble, but in fact, it's going to might go the opposite direction. So it further devalues the U.S. dollar. President Trump has openly talked about this, that he likes a strong dollar, but hey, a weak dollar actually means more people buy things. So we'll see what happens. All of that to say, they're playing money games and manipulation with the U.S. money markets right now and the U.S. dollar. I wouldn't want my family's future tied to that. That's why I'm a big believer in investing in precious metals, silver and gold specifically. And you can too. And our friends at Lear Capital can help you do that. We've got links in the description for you to check out. Just get on the phone with these guys and call them today. They will give you a free gold guide, because now gold projected by JP Morgan and others to hit over $4,500 an ounce. Those are the predictions. I saw one estimate upwards of $6,000 an ounce for gold. But silver also still not even near its all-time high, and relatively inexpensive compared to gold right now. And President Trump just said no tariffs on silver. So there are big moves in the precious metals market right now. Hope you guys are paying attention. Just call them today and have a conversation with them. You know, maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe next year you'll think about doing it. But I would just get on the phone with them and have them send their free gold guide to you to talk with your family about it, whether investing in gold and silver coins, having this sent right to your house so you can store it in your gun safe or in an offsite facility that is protected under 24-hour guard. Call them 1-800-613-3557 for your free $4,500 gold guide right now, or just go to LearRedacted.com, the website. I prefer to get on the phone with them, have a conversation. They're a great team. They're a great American company, by the way. They'll actually answer the phone and talk to you. It's not going to be outsourced to some call center in India, for crying out loud. But have a great conversation with them. 1-800-613-3557 for your free gold guide. Go to LearRedacted.com.
Well, it's football season, and there has been backlash about male NFL cheerleaders. This isn't new. Men have always been a part of cheer, but for some reason there's a fresh stir-up about it. Honestly, to me, it feels like a backlash to the trans agenda that's been shoved in our faces, and that's unfortunate because I don't think this deserves the same outrage.
Well, when you say this isn't new, it is new to the NFL.
It's not.
It's not?
No, there have been male cheerleaders since 2018. And I'm going to give you a little bit of history about cheerleading. Hold your horses, and I will answer your questions.
I've tuned them out then, clearly.
Okay. Well, I believe that the trans issue has poisoned the conversation so badly that these boys get caught in the crosshairs. The truth is, the trans movement didn't just hurt women, it hurt these boys too. These are men dancing as men. They're not pretending to be women. They're not wearing a bra, pretending they need one. The Telegraph article that you see here is wrong. It says that cheerleading is a traditionally female-only role. It is not. In fact, 4 U.S. presidents have been cheerleaders. This is George W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, FDR, and Eisenhower also were cheerleaders. Now, cheerleading was originally a male sport, and the chants were derivations of military chants. Last year, the New York Times did a feature piece about the popularity and the dangers of cheerleading, especially for young girls. Here's a bit from that story. Cheerleading actually started as a male-only sport. Women took it over during World War II when the men went off to fight. And after the war, this Lawrence Herkheimer was known as Mr. Cheerleader. He created the Herky Jump, which I'm going to show you what that is in a second. He patented the pom-poms and built the first big cheer camps. By the 60s, his camps were training 100,000 high school cheerleaders a year. Here, if you're wondering what the Herky Jump is, it's this. You see it all the time if you go to games. It's like one leg back, one leg forward. A more important question might be then, how did cheerleading come to exclude men when it originally was just men trying to hype each other up? Like, go, get it, military type chants. You know, like in war, when you have the drummers, that was the original intention of cheerleading. Now, clearly, these male cheerleaders who are on NFL teams now are hard workers. Cheering is brutal. I was a dancer. I had many dance friends who went on to be cheerleaders. It's a hard job. My main gripe, and I'm going to tell you this comes from jealousy, is the same gripe I've always had about boys competing in dancing, is that boys, when you're a competition dancer, as I was and my girls are now, boys always get extra points. So the rest of us girls have to work twice as hard while some mediocre boy gets the spotlight. The boy I'm talking about should know who he is. These are not mediocre dancers. These boys have worked hard. They are not pretending to be women. They should be judged on their dancing, not their gender. And if we weren't so caught up in the trans issue with men demanding validation inside women's spaces, then we'd be able to see this for what it is, which is men returning to a sport they actually helped create. This is not them taking over women's spaces, which I still contend they should not do. So how do you feel about that?
Okay. So you're in favor of men as NFL cheerleaders?
Yeah, I don't care. As long as they've got the chops to dance. Yeah.
I am absolutely not. No, first of all, it's a predominantly male audience that watches football, watches NFL football.
But I can watch football. So what?
You can. But I'm just telling you, it's a predominantly male sport, predominantly men who watch it. No man wants to watch other men do cheerleading.
Why is your gaze privileged to mine? Why can't I say, like, okay, go ahead.
I'm just telling you, the reason there's a backlash
It's
is
not
because
just
men don't
for
want
you.
it. Football is a man's game.
Okay.
Well, why don't they put women play football now? They've got their women league. Put men out there to do cheerleading for them.
Why can't they be included in this? It was originally a male sport.
They can absolutely be included in it. It's just going to be a huge backlash. I mean, I'm telling you, it's the same thing with Bud Light.
Why now? It's been since 2018.
Who's seen it? I've never seen a male cheerleader at a NFL game.
Maybe the camera they don't get the camera time, but why can't they be there?
That
So
should-
you don't
that
see
should-
it on the
that should tell
NFL
you- that should-
televisions.
That should tell you something. If the cameras don't take a picture of it and show you it,
Then how is this hurting you? Then how is this bothering you? They can be on the sidelines. You don't have to.
I don't
watch
want to
it.
look. I mean, I don't want to. I
Then
don't feel the
don't.
need to. I'm not going to. Like, you just asked me how I feel about it. I'm
But
telling you.
women took this sport for men, and they can't now have any part back. Why did they get excluded in the first place?
I mean, there are plenty of male cheerleaders. I see them all the time. They throw the women up in the air and they do
Sure.
the flips and all that kind of
So
stuff.
then why do you get to say what moves they can do?
I didn't say what moves they could do. Why are you putting words in my mouth, making me the best?
Well, you're saying they can be there if they hold the girls up, but they can't be there and do a herky? Is that what it's even called, a herky? Why can't they do a herky?
People are asking you to demonstrate the herky. I don't know.
Okay. I just feel like, who cares? They're not. If they were pretending to be women, I wouldn't like it. But they're not. They're just dancing in the same way that boys dance in dance competitions.
I just don't.
Like, you go to our girls' dance competitions all the time, and there are boys that dance there, and they're hard workers. And do you think they shouldn't be there, those boys?
That's a dance competition.
Yeah.
I didn't say that at all. I just said NFL football.
NFL cheerleaders.
Yeah. I don't want to see it. That's just not something I'm interested in.
Then don't look, but they can be there.
I won't. They could be there. I'm not kicking them out of a job. If the Vikings want to have their whole cheerleading team be all men, then Vikings go for it. Let's just see.
Okay.
See what let's see what the backlash is in Minnesota. Like, Minnesota, you can have it. Fine. I don't know.
Okay, well, let us know how you think about this. Don't be personal.
I think what you're getting at, I think what Clayton is getting at is not in Philly. Everybody else can do it, but not in Philly.
Yeah, that's right. Fine, you do it. I mean, I don't know. Hey, someone's in the chat said that the Eagles have a male cheerleader. Fine. I don't need to. It's not something I want to watch. But by the way, let me just be honest with you. I don't ever even watch the cheerleaders anyway. Like,
liar.
My eyes are only for this one. I don't even look at the female cheerleaders.
Okay.
I want to watch football for football.
Right.
I don't want. You're
you
the
know
only
what?
one that I
I'm
look
not
at.
being woke here. What I'm saying is that dance should be for everybody. Also, I think that the woke ideology of the trans issue has hurt these people. If we hadn't had this, men in women's locker rooms, men in women's spaces, we might not think this. I think if you're honest with yourself and you didn't think, oh no, here is men taking from women again, you might not think this if we hadn't been through the hell of the trans issue during the Biden years. That's what I think. So, okay, let's move on from this.
A lot of people in the chat saying they're on Team Clayton. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Dean, though, says, Natalie, you should try out.
I tried out for the XFL when I was a dancer, and I went home in the first round.
Speaking of male cheerleaders, I just want to thank one of our viewers. He ran into Natalie at the peace conference, the Ron Paul peace conference in Washington, D.C. Natalie was there giving a speech. A lot of great luminaries were there. Douglas McGregor. You had some incredible people there. Chris Rossini, Dan McAdams, a lot of great people. Max Blumenthal, pro-peace candidates, pro-peace individuals. Anyway, Jeff, one of our viewers, made this for me. I did not vote for Lindsey Graham. And that is really deeply disturbing, a very deeply troubling. I love it. Thank you, Jeff. And thanks to all the great people. And apparently Natalie did an incredible job, by the way. I was home with the kids. But
I'll show you the video and you can decide for yourself later.
Right.
Maybe we'll put it up here. Okay, before we move on, I want to tell you about our friends over at Chapter, because, hey, if you are on Medicaid, or Medicare, I'm sorry, if you're on Medicare and you are approaching the age of Medicare, then you want to know about Chapter, because millions of seniors are on the wrong plan. Most of them don't even know it. In fact, Trump's Department of Justice recently sued 3 major Medicare brokers for allegedly claiming to be unbiased, but they weren't. They were secretly steering seniors towards plans with the biggest kickbacks. That's why we've partnered with Chapter. Chapter doesn't work for the government or big insurance. They work for you. They are the only advisors that compare every Medicare plan nationwide to find what's best for you. And they'll even help you if you're hit with wrongful medical bills. That's real advocacy, and they've saved the average senior $1,100 per year. In fact, one of our good friends used Chapter, and they're saving thousands going forward. The best part is that it's free, and they can only review your options under 20 minutes. So call them at 202-655-5811, or you can go to askchapter.org/redacted. That's where they're the only advisor for Medicare that we trust here at Redacted. You'll be glad that you called. Most in our audience tell us that they wished they'd called sooner. So again, askchapter.org/redacted.
Someone in our chat said, "Stop shilling. I'm broke." We're not shilling. It's a sponsor. And by the way, it's free. So you can't be broke. If you're that broke, but you have internet access, right? You're paying for internet, right? So you've got internet. It's free service to actually help you save thousands of dollars. So not only is it free, it'll help you save thousands of dollars. So there you go. All right, let's talk about UFOs. UFOs over Miami. In fact, all over Florida. Reports have been pouring in over the past week of eyewitnesses like her. She saw them, seeing UFOs breaking apart midair, reassembling large triangular-shaped craft the size of football fields, appearing, hovering in the night sky. Here's just one example. Take a look.
I see the second one, but it just came out of it. No, you're not listening to me. The one on the right came out of it. I swear it did. It came from behind it. I saw it come from behind. Nah, man, that came out of it. Yes, and look, they're both moving. Dude, what the fuck is that, bro?
Yeah, and this is just one example. People sending in all sorts of different reports on social media about sightings over Miami, all across Florida. But we also have a bit of a shocking bit of news we're going to get to here in a moment with our next guest, Ron James from MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, with some big news we're going to get to in a second. Ron, welcome to the show. Great to see you. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me on again.
My pleasure. Great to have you here. And so a couple of things I want to unpack. I know you have some big news I want to get to here in a moment, but first I want to talk about this Miami UFO flap, and then also talk about that Bayside Mall incident here. But what is going on in Florida right now? You guys at the Mutual UFO Network get all sorts of sighting reports from eyewitnesses. You have to go out with an investigation team and verify and do all of that. So can you walk us through, like, what are we seeing in Florida right now?
Well, there seems to be a certain flap around Miami with the sighting like you guys showed me that was on Twitter. We did a preliminary analysis of that, and we think that it's just aviation. There seems to be some police activity on the ground, and we're going to do a deeper dive into the video with our team of video and analysts. But right now, we don't think it's anomalous.
Okay,
but
good.
There have been a lot of reports. And so it's, one of the things that gives MUFON its credibility is that we're not attached to outcomes. And 96% of the cases that we get, we end up finding an explanation for them. So what we'll do with this one is we'll look at where it is. We'll look at air traffic records. We'll reach out to law enforcement to find out what was going on that's actually in the shot. And then we'll try to come up with a conclusion that fits the circumstances.
And that's why I love you guys, but I always say, like, so if 95% of them are like police activity, it's U.S. Air Force, it's U.S. military.
Starlink is probably the biggest cause of UFO reports. People see these Starlink satellites deploying, and the UFO reports light up all over the world. And it's always, that's one of the first things we check.
Well, and I should point out, though, that even if like 5% or 1% of them are authentic or real, that's all you need, right? All you need is one at the end of the day.
It's absolutely true. And we definitely have some that we can't explain. You know, we were talking about triangles in this video that you guys sent me. We've gotten 4,500 reports of triangles just in the last couple of years. And that seems to be an ongoing phenomenon.
Well, I mean, talk about the Phoenix Lights situation, right? The Phoenix Lights flap was seen by thousands of people, including Governor Fife Symington of Arizona at the time. Dr. Lynn Katai, who's wrote a whole book about the Phoenix Lights, the massive triangular craft that were just hovering. It seemed like 30, 40 feet above people's heads in the Arizona foothills. Similar to craft that you're getting in these reports over the past year?
Yes. And, we have some new evidence about the Phoenix Lights. We have been contacted by a witness, a couple, who says they were driving through the desert north of Phoenix on that very night, and that they saw this craft fly over them. And then they had incidents of missing time and are telling us that they've had non-human intelligence abduction-like experiences ever since. And so I think that's one of those stories that's going to keep on giving.
Well, another story that's going to keep on giving is what happened at Bayside, the Bayside Mall in Miami. Because if we're talking about all these sightings over Miami, if it's police activity, and I know you guys are going to investigate that, please keep us updated. But what happened on this crazy story, let me just recount people's minds here, as DC Drano put it. So we're not going to be told about the truth about why Miami had possibly the biggest police response I've ever seen in my life. They're saying it was for teenagers fighting with sticks. What really happened, but other eyewitnesses say they saw 3 beings that were over 10 feet tall with tails. They also said they were reptilian looking. I mean, this is like David Icke territory with like reptilians here, but we still haven't gotten any answers about this from my knowledge here. What I don't know. Do you have any updates on Bayside, by the way, if we're talking about Miami?
Well, the police presence is unprecedented, and the video obviously inconclusive, but something went down there that was huge. And, we had another incident in Las Vegas where supposedly an alien being was captured after UFOs were sighted. So, we're keeping an eye on this one. We don't have an actual definitive conclusion. We're not debunking it. Some people have. We still have an open mind about it.
But now, meanwhile, you have some breaking news, Ron, that you wanted to bring to us today about potential alien materials in possession of investigators. This is a follow-up to that DARPA story that we were covering here a few weeks ago. But now these alien materials have been handed over to congressional offices and in members of Congress's office here. Can you walk us through what you guys have obtained?
Sure. So I was contacted while I was working on the next Accidental Truth movie by a UFO experiencer that has been, he's been involved in this for a very long time, lifelong experiencer. And he told me about some metal that he had. And as I started diving into the story, I realized that since the 1990s, different government agencies have been studying this metal, and some of the biggest names in the field right now, and I'll name names if you want me to, have been in possession of this metal and studied it. It's very, very anomalous. It does very strange things. And this guy was actually contacted by Lou Elizondo and Tom DeLonge and To the Stars Academy. They went to see him and took samples, turned them over supposedly to NASA, to the Army Material Research Lab, told him that the material had evidence of cloaking, reassembling, some of the things that you mentioned in the DARPA story that you did, which was why I brought it to you. And so we turned over samples of this to Kirsten Gillibrand's office. I gave them to them personally, and I know that they were turned over to Arrow, but we're not getting any response from them beyond the first time they sent us a question. So it's just another situation where materials are out there. And what we're finding is that people that are UFO experiencers are starting to come up with materials that are being like gifted to them by non-human intelligence. They're like left in their rooms, and they get these messages, or in this case, it actually fell off a craft. And so not only are experiencers telling these stories now, they're coming with physical samples. And these physical samples are defying testing and ending up in classified environments.
So cloaking, I mean, can you just real quick here as I get you out of here, Ron, they've tested where it's like disappearing in front of them?
The witness told me, and again, we can only go by what we're told, and so I'm not stating any of this as fact. The witness told me that when he first recovered the material, he literally saw it cloak, it like disappear. And then when he turned it over to Lou Elizondo and Tom DeLonge, he said that Tom DeLonge called him and said that they had witnessed this material cloaking as well. Now, whether or not that's true, Lou Elizondo has backed up a lot of the story that this guy has told us. He was unable to corroborate the cloaking story with Tom DeLonge because supposedly that happened separately. But there's a lot of weird stuff happening around this material. And so, yeah, when I heard the DARPA story, we have samples of this stuff, and it could be the same material that they're talking about.
Yeah, people in our chat are saying, yeah, we've had these metals, and we've had this technology for so long now. Well, it would seem that way. The
difference is that now we have samples. We have physical samples. If there's a lab out there that wants to test this material, I have some to share with them. And our project that's coming up, we show the entire history of this. And we also have some things from Russia that appear to back up the story about Lockheed Martin and aerogel and possibly the Tic Tacs being Lockheed Martin technology. There seems to be some evidence for this.
Well, sign me up. I would gladly be a part of your lab study of this, and we'll reveal the results here on Redacted. So,
hey, I'd be
100%.
more than happy to send you guys a sample. We have plenty of it. I turned over samples to Kirsten Gillibrand, and I kept some just so that we can share them with valid labs that want to take a shot at trying to figure out what it is.
Absolutely, I would love that. Ron, great to see you. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for this update, and we really appreciate it. So we'll keep our eye on what's going on in Miami, but more importantly, I want to see what happens with these materials as well. Ron, thank you for your great work as always.
Thanks for having me on. We'll keep you posted.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Ron.
All right. Well, coming up, we're going to talk about MSNBC's new logo, new name. It's great. Hang around for that. Before we do that, we want to tell you about our friends over at Balance of Nature, because Balance of Nature have a line of unique supplements that are the results of years of research and manufactured under good manufacturing process. Now, what they are is fruit and veggie supplements all in one. You can use them to supplement your diet if you maybe don't get enough fruits and vegetables, like most people don't. Ingredients include mango, pineapple, wild blueberries, banana, shiitake mushrooms. They include 4 whole fibers and components such as cinnamon, fenugreek, turmeric, cardamom. These are things that you know you need. All of them have amazing health benefits, and it's all in one place to help supplement your diet, whether you're on the go or not. It will help you just with all around health. It combines 12 amazing spices and 4 whole fibers. Why settle for just any fiber when this uses whole, carefully selected ingredients? And because, you know, even with a solid routine, most of us don't get enough of these fruits, vegetables, spices, and fibers. In fact, 90% of Americans don't. And so you can have more variety in just one supplement. So if you go to Balance of Nature right now and sign up as a preferred customer, use the code Redacted and you'll get 35% off your first order, plus free fiber and spice supplements. Hurry, this offer is only available while supplies last. So again, go to balanceofnature.com. Make sure you use that code Redacted to get your discount. Balanceofnature.com, and the code is Redacted. Well, MSNBC changed its name, and here we go. It is MS Now.
MS Now.
Miss Now. MS Now.
Ms.
MS. It looks like a multiple sclerosis campaign. It is not. It is cable news. This is what was formerly MSNBC. Now, the network is insisting, they sent out this memo that journalists must write out the name. It is My Source News Opinion World, MS Now, on first reference. I did not do that because I do what I want. I called it MS Now, not My Source News Opinion World.
That just flows off the tongue. Like, welcome in, everyone. You're watching My Source
here
News
on MS
Opinion
Now.
World, MS Now.
MS Now. Now,
I told you.
Okay.
We came from a Portuguese-speaking country. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going with M Snow. That's what I'm calling it, M Snow.
M Snow. Miss Snow. Now means no in Portuguese. So that's how I hear it. Now. Now is no, and that's what I'll be doing is not watching. Not gonna work here anymore.
Johnny in our chat says, I just heard BS now. That's all I heard was
exactly.
BS now. MS Propaganda now, says Crazy Ken.
This was Clayton's joke about the logo. He said, it sounds like a fake company from Step Brothers. You know this scene?
Prestige worldwide.
Worldwide. Why? Prestige worldwide. The first word in entertainment.
Prestige worldwide. So I want to know what genius company came up with this junior high level looking production value. Now, you probably know MSNBC was sold off from NBC Universal. CNBC was too, but they get to keep the NBC because it stood for Consumer News and Business Channel. But they do have to redesign and take the peacock out of it, so you cannot confuse it. They both now, MS Now or Miss Snow, and CNBC belong to a parent company called Versant. The CEO promised the channel will serve a progressive audience and hold political figures from both parties to account. Right. The network president said, yeah, we had a little trepidation at first, but enthusiasm is growing. They're growing to love their new names. Again, right.
Someone said, why are you insulting junior high?
Sorry. And the new logo, I don't know what this is supposed to look like. Can we put it back on the screen? This weird flag? Is it like a play on the Human Rights Campaign equality? It looks like melted noodles. It's not an American flag.
To me, it looks like a Democrat, one of those Democrat fundraising groups, or a Democrat PAC, or one of them that's associated with the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
You know, so many of them look like this.
Right.
It really looks awful.
Isn't that the Polish flag?
Possibly. Yeah, it's certainly, I mean, they can't have it look like America because their whole shtick is they hate America. So they can't have any kind of variation on the American flag.
J.R. Coop says it could be an equality sign.
That's what I thought. It's some kind of play on equality, but like blowing in the wind, melted. I don't know. Here is the on-air talent when they... Go ahead.
I was going to say, but it can't be an equality flag because the ends bend, and if you do that, the little tilde thing, that does not equal. Maybe. I don't know. Just saying, if we're going to get into the math, we got to get into the math.
I don't know. Some people are saying that the flag looks like a P, sort of, and that would be PMS now, which I don't think they're meaning to do because most of their anchors are postmenopausal. So here is the on-air talent trying to pretend that they're really thrilled about this. Watch.
All right, we have breaking news as it pertains to our network. This morning, a new name for the network by the end of the year. We will become MS Now, which stands for My Source for News, Opinion, and the World. And look, Andrew, they even have a graphic up. I like it.
There it is.
Actually,
the new logo.
It looks very sporty. As we go to Versant, we're going to be moving in this direction. MS Now, which I got to say,
how's that breaking news?
I got a call yesterday afternoon, and they're saying, "We hope you're okay."
And why is he yelling at us?
What do you mean? Like this shows we're independent. And what I've said on this show time and time again is you look at the people that are running the company, they're entrepreneurial.
Right.
Like when you have somebody come into your company after working for like big corporations and you're talking, you're saying, and they go, we want you to be entrepreneurial. We want you to come up with new ideas. We want you to push the boundaries. I'm excited about that. So I'm excited about this too. It's like,
it's like, yeah.
It's like they think we were all sitting in on the... It's like they think that everybody watching was sitting in on their corporate meeting they had to push this through. They're telling everybody, okay, so you're really excited about this. You really...
Right.
Eagle says they're not independent.
No, they're not. But they will continue on that pretense. So it is a train wreck. Sorry. David said, did they take their good microphones with them when they left? Because, the audio was terrible.
I was going to say the same thing. I was like, where are they? In a pool hall somewhere?
Right. And that was taken directly from their own video. So, it's a train wreck. It couldn't happen to more deserving group of liars, in my opinion. So let us know how you think about this. I'm also a Now. MS
Now.
Yeah.
Hey, we should tell you about our newsletter. It's totally free, and you can subscribe, have it delivered to your inbox first thing in the morning. We are not controlled by big pharma, big media, big tech, by big Israel, APEC lobbies, anybody. And we are independent. We have a small team here at Redacted, and we try to provide value for you every day. It's a great way to stay connected because we've been banned and blocked and censored. YouTube has kicked us offline and we weren't able to post anything. The only way we were able to connect with our audience is through our newsletter to say, hey, we were banned again. So just go over to redacted.inc. That's the place to go. Click on the sign up for the newsletter button at the top. You'll receive a welcome email from me, which is just clayton@redacted.inc. And then you just need to move that over to your inbox so that way it doesn't get flagged by spam. Gmail has labeled our newsletter as dangerous. So it might wind up in your dangerous folder. You might get a little alert that says Gmail has recognized this newsletter as dangerous. A couple of our viewers have sent us that, which I find hilarious. I guess it's dangerous to tell the truth. Anyway, go to redacted.inc, sign up for the free newsletter. We publish it Monday through Thursday, and we'll be back tomorrow with a new newsletter first thing in the morning so you can read it over your cup of coffee.
Hey, I'm just going to, I just Googled to see if RE Now was available so we could rebrand. I kind of like that idea.
ReNow.
RE Now.
Now. But I love how they combine, like, can you put that up again? I love how they combine my source, you know, like they, MS, my source, /news, /opinion. It's like, who the hell came up with that? They come up with it like while they were high at lunch or something?
Yeah.
I guarantee you the person that came up with it, their name was Cisco. I'm just thinking, I'm just feeling it. They were a Cisco. That's who did it.
Cisco.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for us. We will see you tomorrow. We had a divisive show today. We're going to go arm wrestle over this cheerleader thing, but
there was nothing divisive. I feel great. I don't want to see male cheerleaders in my football.
Okay.
I feel great about it. There's nothing divisive about it. If you want to watch male cheerleaders,
it's not just about that. Divisive about other things. But we'll work this out later. Okay, thanks so much for joining us, you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.